location is where Cat 6A line was fished down by an electrician. Kind of hairy location, lots of water lines, and as you come across, there's natural gas lines too. But the trace is up there. There's a natural gas manifold right there, and that 6A line goes across the ceiling here in the depth of our basement. And it comes across down in here, and here, this is our Cat 6 line coil. The AT&T man replaced our optical network terminal with just the jack, and you see there, that's just the pure fiber optic line that comes in. The hanging bit is an old Cat 5 Bell South line that was previously used by our ONT device from AT&T to piggyback the fiber signal. That signal peaked out at 944 megabits per second or so. But this ONT line goes into this new terminates into this SPF, and because this new AT&T 2000 Internet requires this modem, cannot use an ONT device anymore. So they had to take, that's why they took that off. So that goes into here, and then this main line here comes out to here. And so the signals that we're getting are at a computer right near the router upstairs, because this line goes up into my ASUS AX11000pro router, which can do up to 10,000 megabits per second. Of course, I purchased only a 2,000 megabit per second because I have no devices that can do 5,000 or 10,000. My LAN adapters, my computers, everything can only do 2.5 gigabits per second. The majority of the Roku device or the Apple 4K can only do 1 gigabyte peak. And so it wasn't worth it to pay for 5,000 service. So this device, this BGW320-500 router modem, is hooked up to my ASUS AX11000pro, which can do 2.5 gigabits per second easily. And that is what is used to spray Wi-Fi signal. It does Wi-Fi 6. It can do 700 megabits per second down, but the upload is rather slow, like 300, 400 or so. Raw Ethernet line, the Cat 6A cable above at the ASUS fed to the computer can do 2200 up, 2200 down. Theoretically, the 2.5 LAN devices should be able to do 2500, but it never quite gets there. Just like on the 1 gigabyte LAN, it never quite got to 1000. My goal today is to shorten this cable. Even though so the distance from this cable to my router is 150 feet. This is a 150 foot Cat 6A cable. And by shortening it, supposedly I don't decrease latency by that much. A, this is a tangled mess. I don't need that much cable and never will. And B, if I cut this down and connected them together, I can use this excess for other connectors, because Cat 6A cable can be rather expensive. Now this is an AI mesh. I used my older router, which this is a 1 gigabyte ASUS AC5300 modem, and that can only do 1 gigabit connection. So I'm using it as a AI mesh. Here, you cut into the actual inner fiber a little bit. Just try not to overdo it. Shielded, thankfully, and so I've had AT&T now for 7 years, getting like I said, 900 up, 900 down speeds, which is generally adequate. I saw that 2 gigabyte speeds were available. T568B protocol. It tells me exactly how this is threaded, and this is where I need the eyes. Let's see if there's that one. Okay, let's see. Yes, that one is is good, and this one had been good. Yes, the wiring is good. Let's see if our connection is good. The Wi-Fi is good. The Ethernet should be good. Let's test. This Wi-Fi, yeah, so it's getting like 600 something downloads. It's getting like, I don't know, not quite 6 uploads. So Wi-Fi is good. I only got my internet upgraded to 2 gig, the 2000 internet program on AT&T. It's about $120 a month compared to about $90 a month after fees. And that's I think the regular rate. They won't give me any discounts because I used them all up when I first signed up 7 years ago with AT&T when I was on the 1 gig plan for the past 6-7 years. It's been fairly steady 1 gig for the past almost 7 years, but I wanted to see if the 2 gig was worth it. I investigated on my main computer. This is a Gigabyte Z690 motherboard. It has a 2.5 ReoLink LAN port. I have a TP-Link 2.5 gigabyte switch, 8-port switch upstairs, which can spray 2.5 gigabyte Ethernet lines throughout the house. So I've got a hardwired computer at our main TV area, as well as Apple TV via a switch there as well, and my Denon AVR receiver, a 2 gigabyte line going into the computer in the bedroom, 2 gigabyte line going into my wife's computer that she uses for work, where she does like Zoom conferencing and this and that, and then a 2 gigabyte line going into my daughter's room. Those are all working adequately. I tested speeds. Like for instance, my wife's computer, it does 2200 down, 2200 up easily and fairly consistently. The speeds are very consistent and jumps immediately to well over 1700-1800 and goes to like over 2 gigabytes immediately. I mean, within a few seconds, consistently. The computer behind me, which I use for long rendering sometimes, I have attached to a direct landline. My router upstairs it had to use a Cable Matters 2.5 gigabyte, which is like a Realtek codec LAN port dongle. Works very well. After I upgraded the driver to the 1058 driver, it does consistent 2 gigabyte speeds. Just like upstairs, it jumps right away and gets to 2 gigabytes. Now, my main router, I used to have an ASUS RT-AC5300. I've had that since 2017. That caps out at 1 gigabyte speeds. It does 10100 1 gigabytes. And so I was going to use that as an AI mesh router placed in our basement. And I got a new GT-AX11000pro, which does 2.5 gigabytes. It has a 2.5 gigabyte WAN port, and then it has a 10 gigabyte port that it can use to exit into a Ethernet switch, which is what I do. And as I've shown, it works very, very well as far as spraying the LAN 2.5 gig speeds. What I found at this computer is that, and this is kind of like the speeds I'm generally seeing, it does like 1400, 1500, so it goes very slow, and so it never gets to 2 gigabytes, as you can see. That's very unsatisfying. I mean, it's a significant jump. Now, what is that? Like a 33% jump in speed in the download. The uploads seem to generally be fine. Here's the results history. It generally, speeds are like this. This is mainly what I'm seeing. This is rare, where it gets to 2 gigabytes. Here I'm testing VPN. This is a speed through a VPN that I have. Of course, it slows down, but it's still pretty decent for VPN speeds. Here's that one where I just mentioned 2300. The thing about speed test, Ookla, is that it totally depends on which server you use. So I'm using the fastest server that I find. I've tried a whole number of other speed test servers far from me. I don't think it reflects how fast it can get. There you see 1100. You see that jump down? I'm not sure what that's all about. So I think either it's a throttling or that server at that distance can't really get that speed. But you see 1100, 1300 from Washington, D.C. I investigated the LAN port, upgrade the drivers. I tried a different LAN, one that works on my other computers, and it still does that. I've investigated various browsers, for instance, and Firefox. It has a consistently slow upload, and maybe a Firefox specific problem. So when I got the wrong server. It got Tucker, Georgia. So this will not even hit 1 gigabyte probably. So let me get back and choose my server. So this AT&T 2000 program, if I'm not getting 2000, I don't know that it's worth it to pay that much extra, but I've got the router. It'll be a pain to switch back. So here's Firefox test. And this will be even slower to upload. For some reason, on the Firefox, the upload never hits even like 1500. And so this actually is very typical of the type of numbers I've been getting. And here is Microsoft Edge. So I don't think it's a browser problem. I don't think it's a Windows 10 problem. I tried doing that, turning off auto tuning, and that actually drops the speed down to 600s. So here is the disappointing speed on the Microsoft Edge. The AT&T router, which is the Humax BGW 320-500. At the Smart Manager program, it tells me I'm getting 2500 up and down, but by the time it sprays here. So is it the line? Well, if it's the line, why does it occasionally hit the 2300 here at my main computer? And what else could it be besides that? There are many programs. It could be that I have so many. This is a multi-monitor setup, 5 monitors, including a ReoLink PC client, which really does use lots of resources. So let's turn the ReoLink PC client off. Now wait a few seconds, and then I restart the Ookla connection, and then test. Let's see if it hits at least 2 gigabytes. Yeah, I had myself convinced that it was the ReoLink client. Because again, it hit at least 2 gigabytes here. So it could be that that's it. But that the ReoLink PC client does so in a not consistent manner. I mean, basically it doesn't throttle my internet in a consistent manner. So if that's what it is, now I could accept these numbers, and I would be willing to pay $120 a month if I got that consistently. And if it is my ReoLink PC client throttling my internet, that would be something I could control, and probably I could accept. But let me test that again. Let's see if I can show it again. And what I found is that occasionally when I retest, it doesn't hit the 2 gig. So this is what I want to see. I want to see it hit 2 gigs just within like 3 seconds. Yeah, now the speed is good. So this is what I'm seeing, and this is what is acceptable to me for Internet 2000 subscription with AT&T. So it's possible, but you need a 2.5 gig router like the ASUS GT AX11000pro. You need 2.5 gigabyte switches, which is the TP-Link 8-port. You need 2.5 gigabyte LAN ports or cards or dongles on every computer to access the speed. And you need at least a Cat6 cable, and more likely a Cat6A if possible, or a Cat7 cable. I've got consistently Cat6A or Cat7 cables everywhere. I should be hitting 2.5 gig speeds everywhere. Currently, if you shop around, you cannot find, at least at the consumer residential level, you cannot find 10 gigabyte or 5 gigabyte switches, LAN ports. You can't find 5 and 10 gigabyte anything as of yet. But 2.5 gigabytes, it's very doable right now. One thing I noticed is that even if I'm not getting this type of speed consistently on my main computer, I can notice the difference. and the snappiness of internet sites, of websites, of like for instance YouTube videos or Odyssey videos, whatever. They're extremely snappy. And the ReoLink client on my Wi-Fi cams, they snap in place immediately, much faster. I mean, just like 1 or 2 seconds, and there's no longer that kind of painful delay. So going from 1 to 2 gigabytes in that sense seems very useful. If you're transferring files within your system, it'll hit over 200 megabits, and that again is very, very useful. So again, I'm gonna work on this, and if I do get myself convinced that it is the ReoLink PC client, which is now off my main computer, that is throttling my speeds, I think I can accept this. Yeah, so this is the third test, and the third time it will hit 2 gigabytes. So that may be what I can conclude. That is my AT&T Internet 2000 upgrade experience so far.